It's really cool. We haven't seen him in a few years, I think. It's been at least 2 or 3. So in his life has changed at a personal level.
Yeah.
He talks about his family and how that's grown and things like that. So I think it was interesting as he's growing personally and professionally, you know, how he talks a lot about how his approach to racing has changed. And I think the longer he does it, the more he gets a varied perspective. We talked a lot this time about the different size teams and the engineering side of the cars. And I want to say the last time we talked to him, he was just starting to get more insight into that or experience more of that. So I think that was really, really interesting. And the focus on engineering and how that's really what's pushing certain teams ahead for the most part. I think it's safe to say in NASCAR right now. So that seems to be a shift from the historic, you know, art of racing.
Yeah, and like our business as well, you know, it seems like things are becoming, you know, more and more technical, and that's the same in racing. And yeah, he's had the perspective of racing for small teams, medium teams, large teams, and just learning about, you know, fundamentally what's the difference with factory simulators versus, you know, standard iRacing simulators. And yeah, it'll be cool to see him, you know, this season running each week, and I'm sure he'll be back for another one.
Yeah, can't wait.
Attempted to get it tailored, but
there's a dramatic height difference.
It was still way too big. So that is slightly smaller than the original suit.
But Tyler tried to put it on one day.
Yeah,
because it was sitting next to my desk for a while.
There's a few people that have tried it on.
Oh, Tyler couldn't. It was. It's now too short for Tyler.
Okay.
I mean, that's a special suit. That's still my only Daytona 500 to this day. I'm confident
it's got the right
not
logo
my
on
last,
it too. Yeah,
but it's my first.
Yeah,
you know, so that was a cool experience, and it was a different era, you know, with the COVID era, and I mean, unfortunately, you guys couldn't be in there in the pits with us, so like it was just like a unique, kind of odd experience. But I mean, it was Daytona 500,
and we didn't really know any better. Like we hadn't been to the 500.
You're
before.
making eye contact with me. I couldn't go. I was very.
It was a lot of
pregnant.
fun. It was cool to see the car going around the track, but you know, having gone to Daytona last year and get the full experience, it's unlike any event you can go to.
That year was a huge rain delay too, wasn't it? It was wild.
Yeah,
I remember
you
sitting
finished
at
the
home.
race at like 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning.
Yeah, my mom and
I went to bed.
my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, had to sit in a suite that NASCAR gave us, and we got 2 passes because we couldn't have any people in the pits with us.
Yeah.
So we got 2 passes for a suite, and they sat up there, I think, for like 8 or 9 hours of a delay, and I think they were both driving each other crazy. But yeah, no, that was a cool, and that was my last full-time season in one specific series. So that
was the first race of your only full-time Cup season.
In the Cup series, yes. Yeah. And you know, since then I still consider that I've been full-time in different series. But like this year, I still ran almost 50 races across 5 different types of racing categories. You know, NASCAR, you know, all 3 series of NASCAR. I ran the sports car WRL program. I ran dirt racing. You know, I ran the Chili Bowl. So I still pieced together what was a full-time season. I still raced almost every single weekend. But other than the Porsche program, which actually I still missed 2 races, I wasn't full-time in any series. So this year to be full-time and running all 33 races will be pretty cool. But yeah, the last time I ran full-time in one specific series was 2021 with Wisconsin Lighting Lab on the car.
Yeah, that was a fun year.
That was
So you ran was it 2 truck races this year?
And I ran 2 truck races. I think I don't keep track. I should. I think I ran like
25 Xfinity.
Yeah, I think it was like 21, 22 Xfinity races, and then a handful of Cup races. I think 5 to 7 Cup races. So yeah, and then I think like 15, 16 total WRL races in the sports car and the Porsche, which we won the championship, so that was cool. And we won almost every race we entered, which was badass. And there was some steep competition, like at COTA, and I'll send you the video after this. But at COTA, we had a great battle for an hour and a half to finish the race against Billy Johnson, who's a ex-factory Ford driver, and it was full-on NASCAR. I mean, they called themselves a no-contact series, but he was playing some games, I was playing some games, and I mean, kind of had to scoot him out of the way to win the race. But it was a fun season for us. And
how many classes are in that series?
So there's 4 classes. I think 4 or 5 classes.
And then one does that include the prototype?
Yeah, that includes prototype. So the prototype class, and then there's GTO, which we ran, which are a lot of GT4 style cars, and then some tube frame chassis cars. RCR had a car there the last couple of years at COTA, and then we brought the Porsche Cup car, which we actually had a detune to fit the series by, I think, 100 horsepower. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy to do. I think the car owner spent a massive amount of money. I mean, 6 digits to detune the car. It sounds stupid, but Porsche basically said, we don't want you detuning this car, so we're not giving you any help. So we had to get really creative.
So it's more than a restrictor plate. I mean, they had to.
Yeah. I mean, to open up the computer, I mean, it was very intricate, and it took a lot of time and a lot of money. And then we had to add a lot of weight. So that was GTO. And then there's a GP1, GP2 class, which GP3 kind of went away. GP3 was like a Spec Miata. GP2 kind of came in and took over that class. So really, I think there's 4 major series or classes right now in that series. But it's a fun series, and it's like the GTO class and the GTU class. GTU were the prototypes, and GTO. Those 2 series have become basically like a Pro-Am class. Like, if you want to race for the win, you almost need to have a pro driver, like an IMSA level strategist and fueling, and like your pit stops need to be on par. And, at the end of the year, I think there were like 20 some pro drivers that were in the series, and there are some guys that have won IMSA races too. So it's become a very well-known, well-respected series.
And I'd mentioned that we're kicking around building a car for that series. What class would you recommend getting in?
I think GP1.
And that's right below.
Yeah, GTO.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think GP1 would be ideal. Especially, I mean, it depends what kind of budget you have too. I mean, GTO, I think the cars are cool.
Yeah.
But there's some GP1 cars too that are pretty badass, that are maybe detuned.
I mean, you got paddle shifters and it looks like a full blown GT car.
Yeah, in GTO. Yeah, I mean, some of the cars that were racing in there were, $250,000 GT4 cars that you buy from the factory, whereas GP1 is a little bit more production car that you buy from the factory and you turn it into a race car. So it's kind of what the series started out. The series kind of started as like a grassroots type endurance level series, and it's kind of transitioned now to where like the GTO class and the GTU class are, I mean, you got to spend a lot of money to go out there and play. But the GP1, GP2 classes are more like what the series was kind of based off of. It's your grassroots racers. You're not showing up with a fancy full-blown rig with a full-blown pit crew. You're showing up with
that'd be more our level.
Yeah. So I think, and actually Ford just announced that they have a pretty decent prize pool for WRL. So I don't know if you saw that or not, but I mean, they're actually going to pay out a decent amount of money.
Wow.
If you're racing a Ford. So,
and there's multiple series, I think, like that series. I know, like at Road America, I think there's 3 endurance series next year.
There are. I would place right now at this moment WRL at the top of that list.
Yep.
You got Champ Car, which used to be Chump Car, and that's
that.
kind of a goofy series, but it's become a little bit more serious now. Serious now. And then you got Lemons, which is pretty much just very goofy. and I would stay away from Lemons if you're looking to be a little bit more competitive and like serious about your racing. But you got Champ Car, which is a little bit more serious, which I think you could run and probably win the overall race at. But WRL is a pretty good series. But then next year, interestingly enough, one of the team owners in WRL, they owned a prototype team. They wanted to buy WRL, and WRL basically said no. So they came out with their own series that very identical to WRL. It's called Zenith Racing. And they're going to do their own thing next year, and they actually have a deal with IMSA to where they have like a scholarship fund where if you win, you get some scholarship towards IMSA. So there's a couple different, which I think might dilute some of the entries to WRL. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing yet, but I guess we'll see next year how it goes.
So what does NASCAR look like for you next year?
So I'll be full-time in the Xfinity Series, which is now the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. So it's going to take a little bit to get used to, just like it did when.
They really simplified that, didn't they?
Yeah, when you think of a Cup car, it's called the NASCAR Cup Series, but you call it a Cup car. You call the NASCAR, I think it's the Craftsman Truck Series. You call it a truck, but for years we've been calling the Xfinity car just Xfinity car. So it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. But yeah, I'll be full-time in the 07 in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, which, yeah, I'm excited about. Like we had just talked about, I haven't been full-time in one series since 2021. So, putting all my eggs in one basket pretty much next year and Gonna kind of tune down my my sports car schedule and my dirt schedule, and just really try to focus on one series. It doesn't mean I'm not going to go out there and race at Plymouth every once in a while or some sports car programs. I would love to race the IMSA race at Road America, which is actually an off weekend for me in NASCAR. But all of my focus pretty much is going to be on that NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series.
What is your kind of evolution, and how has your perspective changed on circle tracks versus road racing? So you have a road racing background. You've run how many circle track now? Over 200?
Over 200.
Over 200.
Yeah. So I think in 2 starts, I'll be at 250 NASCAR starts,
Wow.
which is very cool and something that, I never really expected.
It's a pretty
to get to
limited
that
group
number.
of people that have run that many NASCAR races.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate.
Yeah.
I have over 100 NASCAR Cup Series starts. Well over 100 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. But for me, ovals were always really intimidating.
Yeah.
And over the last few years, I've been racing a little bit more on dirt, and that's enjoyable for me. It's fun, but also for me, it's just kind of, I'm still learning on dirt, and it actually translates quite well to the ovals. Coming from road courses, going to ovals, what I always struggled with was driving a car that's a little bit loose on corner entry on an oval, especially the bigger, faster tracks. I mean, Michigan, some of the 1.5 miles, you're at 190 going into turn 1.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the car should be loose at that point.
It shouldn't, but it's an unsettling feeling getting into the corner.
Yep.
And I struggled with that early in my career. And I think some of the dirt races I've been running, from the Chili Bowl to the sprint car, has helped with that, because the sprint car, you got to drive the car really hard, and it's an uneasy feeling, and it's uncomfortable. I tell a lot of people, like, not seating position, but like just literally uncomfortable, and you got to train your mind to drive the car really hard and drive through that little bit of an uneasy feeling, and that has helped me for the ovals in NASCAR. And now when I go to ovals in NASCAR, there's really no hesitation for me. It's like, I used to be a little bit hesitant on lap 1, lap 2, and now I pretty much don't even think about it, just like a road course. Like, I just kind of go there and do my job. And you used to be a little bit nervous or intimidated going into these ovals, and I don't have that anymore.
So when does the car hook up? So on turn in, you said it feels loose. When it's fast, it feels loose. But when does it actually hook up through the corner?
I would say, for the most part, when it's fully loaded.
Okay.
When the suspension's working how it should be. And our guys at the shop, when they pull the cars down, so they basically put these cars on these big machines and pull the car down to where it is fully loaded. And that's where they're making their suspension adjustments. They're not making the suspension adjustments when the car's unloaded, go down the straightaway. So once you're into the corner, you can still have that little bit of a loose sensation, like I said, getting into the corner in that transition period. But once you're fully loaded, the car does feel a little bit better, more hooked up. And then that's when you pick up the throttle pretty much and try to get the car pointed.
So in theory, if it's loose it's going to rotate the car in a better direction for the exit.
It should, yes.
Yeah.
And, realistically, on paper, always a loose car should be faster.
Yep.
When you're driving a tight car, it just limits the rotation of the car, but it's also the driver needs to be adjusted to driving a loose car. For me, I've never liked a car that's loose on entry.
Yeah.
Whereas there are drivers that can manage that, and a lot of dirt drivers can manage that a little bit better than I can. Because they grew up racing on dirt, grew up driving a car that is uncomfortable on entry, like Larson, Christopher Bell, but it's fast. And we're not talking about loose to the point where they're going to crash every single lap, but just a little bit of looseness on corner entry just makes them a little bit better, makes them a little bit faster.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching the in-car during the cup races. Like when I watch a cup race on Sunday, I watch somebody's in-car the whole time. And I can't remember, I think it was one of the last short tracks last year. Ryan Priest hit a really good run. And just the changes throughout a run, and like communication with the crew chief, and it's amazing how much the car can change, pit to pit, and run to run, and what does that communication look like with your crew chief?
Yeah, so this year I'll have a new crew chief. The last 2 or 3 years in the Xfinity Series, I have the same crew chief. So this year, it's going to change a little bit, but I mean, the track can change. The car, needs to keep up to the track changing. So the car, I'll ask my crew chief to make changes throughout the race, especially if it's a racetrack that changes, heat with the heat of the day, or if it's a race that starts during the day and ends at night, like the Coca-Cola 600. The Coca-Cola 600, which is a cup race, our longest race of the year, will start during the day and it'll end at night. So you kind of set up the car for what you think is going to be best at night, but you practice during the day on Saturday. So you have to kind of fine-tune the car quite a bit throughout the race. And, every 25, 30, 40 laps, I'll be telling my crew chief, this is what the car's doing. This is what I need the car to do better. You make those adjustments, but then the sun starts setting and it's going to be something completely different. So, sometimes the crew chief might just tell you to suck it up. And if you don't like how the car's driving at the beginning of the race when it's still sunny, they might just say, hey, we've set this car up to be better at night. You just have to drive through it. Your pace might not be exactly where you want it to, but once the sun sets, it's going to get better. So, for me, it's going to be about learning how my crew chief is this year. And I've never worked with him, but I've worked around him. Actually, this year, I drove for the same team I'm driving for next year. I drove for one race for SS Greenlight Racing at Mexico. And so I kind of had a little bit of time around the crew chief I'll have this year. Again, he wasn't on my car, but he was on my teammate's car. And he's very straightforward. Some people don't like that. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And I think I can be straightforward to him back to, hey, I don't like this change, but I think it's important not to take it to heart. I'm sure next year we'll hopefully that straightforwardness makes us both better.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody's Hall of Fame induction speech, and who's the guy that did all the backflips?
Was it Carl Edwards?
Carl Edwards. So he was talking about, when he ran for smaller teams and ended up going to Roush, and he said after his first session in a Roush car, he got out and he's like, "Car's great, car's perfect, no changes." And I remember he said the crew chief just started yelling at me. He said, "I never want you to get out of a car and tell us that it's perfect. Like I want these guys doing something. We want to try new things. We want to always be testing and tuning and pushing the limits." And in NASCAR, there's such a huge variation in team resources, and I'm sure different types of personalities and people. And you've worked for, you've run for small teams, big teams, and you were there when you ran for Gibbs. What are some of the big differences that you see with small team, medium team, large team, maybe a medium-sized team that does it really, really well, and they can make use of their resources, but what are the different levels and differences, say, in the Xfinity series?
Yeah, so, I think I've actually ran for all three different levels of teams. I've driven for the small teams. I've driven for the mid-pack teams that achieve probably more than with what they have. And then I've driven for the powerhouse teams. Like I drove for Joe Gibbs. Granted, it was only 2 races, but I was able to see the difference from everything from prep before the race. A month before the race started, we were already on the simulator.
The sim availability.
And I consider myself an expert on the road courses, but I still had a guy who was trying to help coach me throughout the road courses, and he sent me a lot of notes. I had never been to Portland. Portland was my first race with Gibbs, so the preparation that a team like Gibbs gets and they give their drivers is, that's why they're a championship level team. But that's also why the race team costs 5 times a smaller team. But I had never been to Portland. By the time I went to Portland with the Gibbs team, it was a 1-day show. So it was practice, I think a 20-minute practice, 2 laps of qualifying and then the race. But right off of practice, I literally felt like I had been there before. The simulator time that Gibbs gave me was very helpful. The track notes from the driver's coach, it was very helpful. Talking with my crew chief and the whole team and the engineers, everything prepared me for that first practice session. So it's not like I showed up without a clue. I literally felt like everything was on par, from the simulator to the coaching. And we fired off. I think we were like 6th in practice. We qualified 9th, which I wasn't happy about. But then we were top 3, top 4 throughout the race for almost the entirety of the race until I got cleaned out on a restart, which happens a lot.
Yeah, I've of course watched the race. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, and it seems like every time I've gotten the car really good, something goofy happens. But then
you had a good run at the Roval too. Yeah, we were there for that one.
We did. And we had a great run at the Roval.
So qualified 3rd?
Qualified 3rd or 4th.
3rd or 4th,
I think 3rd, second row. And we led laps, and we just had a slow pit stop at the end of stage 3. And, we came in, I think we were 3rd or 4th when we came in the pits, exited like 12th, and we finished 8th. So that was a tough one for me. 8th is still a good result,
Yeah.
but like for me, I wanted a top 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I've driven for smaller teams, like Nice Motorsports, which is a bigger team than what I'm used to, but not the same level as Gibbs. And Nice, they still give me preparation, but it's not at the extent of Gibbs to where it's a driver coach coming in, giving me small notes. We had simulator time, but our simulator time wasn't on the full motion rig. That's a multi-million-dollar machine. It's on the static simulator, which is just like my iRacing rig at home. It doesn't move. But it was still helpful. And we finished 6th or 7th at the Roval. I'm sorry, 6th at the Roval, and then I think 7th at Lime Rock.
Yep.
So 2 good results there. But, that's a team that I think has 50 or 60 employees and Gibbs has 400 employees.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's still a massive jump there. And then you have the smaller teams, like I drive for more so than I don't, like DGM Racing, who I drove for this year, SS Greenlight Racing, who I'll drive for next year. We didn't get any simulator time at any race this year at DGM, and we probably won't get much next year. Now that I'm full season, I'm hopeful that I can get a little bit more Chevy sim time.
So when you say simulator time, this isn't your rig at home.
This isn't my rig at home.
Each factory has a sim for their
each factory
teams,
has a
teams.
sim, and then each manufacturer has their sim. So like Chevy has a sim, numerous simulators actually. Toyota has their sim, Ford has their sim, but like Chevy, their simulator setup is a lot different than mine at home. So mine at home just runs off iRacing, which is, I would say, 90% accurate. But the simulators that they run at the Chevy Center, it's 95% accurate.
Yep.
It's a little bit more updated. I mean, they literally were making updates last year when I drove at Gibbs. They changed the track layout for the first time since we started racing at the Roval, and they were making updates to the software while I'm on the software. So it's like, hey, we had some scouts at the track today on Wednesday. We were on track on Friday, but they just, small things like the paintings on the walls, the paintings around the track, the curbs, what style curbs there were. I mean, there's big curbs, there's small curbs. So, I don't have that on iRacing. The iRacing scan is still, a 2 or 3 year old iRacing scan, and the grip level is a little bit different. So, there is a difference in simulators, but like I said, this year I didn't get any real simulator time. So when I say real simulator, I'm talking about the Chevy software, which is a little bit more accurate than iRacing. So if I don't have that real simulator time, I'm still at my house prepping. I'm spending hour and a half a day, for multiple days leading up to the race. And it's very helpful on road courses, but the braking zones are a little bit different. The grip level is a little bit different. The tire model is a little bit different. It still helps a lot. But, I think my lap time at the Roval in qualifying in real life, I think was a 1/10 or 2/10 off my simulator time. So, they are so accurate. Whereas iRacing is normally a little bit quicker just because the grip level is a little bit different. And you're always a little bit quicker on iRacing than you are in real life.
And I remember when you ran for Gibbs, when we went into the hauler, you had an engineer that was assigned to you.
Yeah.
And what are they doing at the track? And is that different than, because then they have an engineering team that's remote as well, like back at Gibbs's shop. But what is that engineer at the track doing for your team?
So they're running a simulator software on their computer. It's not like me driving the car on the simulator. They are physically running simulator software to figure out what changes to make. If I'm saying the car's tight, they can run different numbers and different settings, setups in their simulator software. And the software will basically tell them, is this fix going to help, or is it going to, is it irrelevant? And it's just a bunch of numbers and a bunch of bars and graphs. And it's something that even I don't really know how to read. But the engineer
Is it telling the crew chief?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Which way to go. So,
Yep.
Yeah, as a smaller team, we don't really have an engineer. Even
You're
when
more or
I
less
drove for-
relying on driver feedback and the
Yes.
crew chief's ability to interpret it and
Yep.
update the car.
Yeah, and
Yep.
we might not even get that software to use, so it's just relying off of the
Old
team.
school, really.
Yeah, the crew chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot more old school.
Yep.
So yeah, when I drove for Nice this year in the truck series, like I said, they're probably the medium-sized team. We didn't have an engineer either. We were the 4th truck team, kind of like I don't want to say a last-minute effort, but they started the year with 3 teams, went to a 4th part-time truck. So I was in a 4th part-time truck with a crew chief that had a lot of experience, but no engineer. You can tell it was kind of like a makeshift team. And we performed the rest of the teams. Like for us, like that was a great day for us, but we didn't have an engineer there. So yeah, having an engineer is very beneficial, but it also comes with money you need to spend. And just as a small team, sometimes we just have to cut it out.
And are those engineers, do they travel with the teams? Are they, I guess, are there, like with Gibbs, are there some people back at home base and they're like a rotational schedule, or is that person at the track with the 19 team every weekend?
I would say like the Xfinity level, the Truck Series level, you have one engineer who is at the track and they're at the shop. You know, they're at the shop during the weekend, but then they're at the track. Travel. The Cup Series has numerous engineers that's when they use their battle rooms or their, I think, what do they call them? We toured it. I forget what they call them, but I think they actually call them a battle room.
Yep.
They have your 10 engineers in there. Now, when you're in the playoffs and you're, you know, at a winning level in the Xfinity Series, they probably have a couple of those engineers that are at the shop. But mostly those guys the engineers that are staying at the shop, those are mainly Cup guys for the Cup Series teams. And the Xfinity guys have their engineers that travel with the teams.
And they're really like data guys. Like they're not, when they say they're not working on the cars, those are the mechanics and car chiefs and things like that.
Yeah, mechanics, car chiefs. You know, the engineer maybe started off as like a mechanic, but learned the ropes. Most of the engineers probably went to school to become an engineer, and some of them that I know actually worked as like mechanics on smaller teams. Actually, when I drove in full time for Rick Ware Racing, we had an engineer who he was also hands-on, and you kind of start doing what you got to do. But he's graduated to Joe Gibbs now. He was an engineer for one of their Xfinity cars, and now he's moved on to be an engineer for a Cup Series car. So, you know, the evolution of some of their career paths, it's different for every person. Just like as a driver, my route to NASCAR is different. But, most of them, started out probably hands-on, but now when they're at the Cup Series, Xfinity Series level as an engineer for these big teams, they're just basically running numbers.
Yeah, when you hear even at the Cup level, the different budgets for different teams, it seems like a lot of the differentiator with the current car is engineering, and like 2311, they buy their data from Gibbs, and then does it seem like that is the case? Like the big separator team to team is the size of the engineering team, or is it the pit crew, or like with an Xfinity team, are they subcontracting their pit crews to the Hendricks guys that are at the track, or what does that look like?
So the Xfinity Series, like we still do lease our pit crew from these bigger teams.
You do?
Yes, we do. So like this year,
because they're already at the track.
Yeah,
actually, probably running on Sunday and.
Yeah, so this year at DGM Racing, we actually leased our pit crew from Nice Motorsports, ironically. So we leased it from a Truck Series team, and a lot of the bigger teams, like the Joe Gibbs level teams, their Sunday crew will pit their Saturday cars. So they're not really leasing those guys out. There's a couple big teams that lease their guys out to the smaller teams, but it comes with a bigger price check too, just like leasing a motor. But to answer your question about the Cup Series, those cars and why the bigger teams probably perform better, I would say it's probably the engineering department. I think 10 years ago when they were still building these cars in-house, they had more engineers that were focusing on building the cars themselves. And now some of those departments have went away. Some of the teams may have shrunken their size a little bit, but they have more engineers now just focusing on how do we make these parts go faster? How do we set these cars up to go faster? Every part is pretty much the same. We're getting to the point now where like there are some secondhand parts becoming available. Like when I drive in the Cup Series, I drive for a small team. I think we have like 7 employees. We're probably buying some secondhand parts now, but all the parts are pretty much the same. It's just how the parts are pieced on the car and bolted on the car, and there's different geometry settings. I mean, there's thousands of different ways to set these cars up, and those engineers are running those numbers and running, just different software to figure out what probably is going to be the best for that car. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
it's always really, it just blows me away how like a team, say with a $2 to $5 million budget, can get within 2 seconds of a team with a $20 or $30 million budget. It's like, what is accounting for that extra $20 million? It's just because they are the same parts. I mean, obviously the variation in pit crews, but it's just wild how to get into the game. Certainly it's expensive, but between getting in and performing at a top level it's a different planet.
Yeah,
budget
it is.
wise.
And even like small things, and I say small, but like the engine still makes a difference. Like now, if you look at the Cup Series now versus where it was when I drove full time in 21. In 21, there were 10 or 12 smaller teams that were still using their owned engines. And they raced against the other small teams. Now, on every weekend, there's probably one or two of these small teams. So the performance level in the Cup Series of the 36 cars that are full time have just gotten like the back 10 are, you're right, they're only half a second at times to the leader. And there's a lot of tracks to where oftentimes 36 is running only 3/10, like Martinsville, 2/10, 3/10 a lap slower than the leader, and they're all just so close. But the difference is engineering support, engines. An engine. If we want to lease an engine in the Cup Series, if it's just a one race deal, it's $100,000.
And that's totally nuts.
But like at Indianapolis last year, we qualified, I think, like 2 seconds off. In the race, when we were in the pack in the draft for the first 5 laps of every restart, we were hanging with the pack, and then they started separating and filing out single file, and that's when our motor, which is 70 horsepower down, just kind of fell on his face. But yeah, I mean, if we want a leased engine, that's $100,000, and 36 races, 38 total races, but 36 points paying races, they'll give us a deal if we do a full season deal, but that's a $3 million expense right there. Then you got the good pit crew, which is that's
doubles your budget just on engines, basically,
So,
or more.
Yeah, and then obviously, like when I drive in the Cup Series, we don't have an engineer. So if we want to hire an engineer, a good engineer probably wants $250,000 plus their travel and everything else. So it adds up really quickly. And you think about Hendrick, they have 400, 500 employees, and a lot of them are making good money too. So it's a money game. It's crazy.
Yeah, and being on the road constantly, I mean, it also probably limits the supply of people that are willing to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, being gone how many weekends a year?
I mean, in the Cup Series, 38.
30
but then you have a couple tests. Even in Xfinity, you have 33 races, and we'll have a Rockingham test. Some sponsorship events. Like we're on the road 42, 43 weekends a year.
Yeah. Well, the San Diego race looks cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm really excited, and it's a big track too.
How long of a track is it?
I think it's north of 3 miles.
Wow.
Some longer straightaways.
Yep.
I think it's going to be very scenic with some of the aircraft carriers kind of like in the background of the track. So that's one that's I'm really excited about. It's obviously right in my wheelhouse too, being a road course. Hopefully it's a little bit bumpy because like Chicago, I could kind of use that as an advantage for us. I mean, last year
from a power standpoint.
Yeah. Last year in the Cup Series, we out-qualified some really big teams. And that was with Carl Long's owned engine. And we should have finished 20th, top 20 at least. But there was a restart checkup, and I got a lot of nose damage, and it hurt my radiator. And I had a short shift every single shift, and I had to really baby the car to get it to the end. But we finished 21st. But yeah, Chicago was one of the bumpiest tracks we've ever gone to, and it just, I think, fit my wheelhouse. So hopefully this track is a little bit of character. But yeah, it's super cool. I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be logistically a nightmare. Though.
On the other side of the country.
Yeah, and even just the track itself, only having 1 or 2 ways to get in and out.
Oh, really?
I think there's only like one main bridge, which is, I think, a 1-lane road in and 1 lane out, so 2 lanes. And I think that's really the only way to get on and off the island. So I'm sure there's a team that's just going nonstop preparing for the race, but it's something really cool that I'm excited to be a part of.
Yeah, and it seems like it's going to be a well-attended event.
I think so. Although one thing that's really unique about Friday, so it's the Truck Series on Friday, Xfinity on Saturday, then Cup on Sunday. Friday, from my understanding, there will be no fans, and it's only open to military personnel.
Really?
So we'll see if that's true or not, but I've heard it's true. And then they're also cutting off some of our passes for our guests, like they did at Chicago. So I think normally if we get 20 passes, we'll get 10 passes. I don't know the real numbers yet, but that's kind of what they did at Chicago because it's so tight.
Yeah.
And literally there's people getting ran over. I mean, not really, but like it's hard for the teams to work.
I thought you...
No, and when I say that,
people were actually getting ran over.
I more or less mean like the pit equipment that they're moving back and forth, like the big pit boxes and the practice carts that we use. It's hard to move those when there's 1,000 people on pit road, and the pit road's literally only the width of this room. So they do it at Bristol and Martinsville now, but yeah, we'll see how it runs. Hopefully there's no. Hopefully it just runs smooth and everyone's happy with it.
What's your favorite race of the year?
these
Daytona?
last couple of years, Daytona's always at the top. I don't want to say it's at the top. These last couple of years, I think Chicago's been really cool. Chicago's been so unique. Daytona's, top 3 for sure for me because it's Daytona. You start the year there, practicing Friday night kind of as the sun sets, always pretty cool. Then racing into the night and Saturday night. It's one of our most well-attended events, one of our most watched events. For us as a small team, it's an equalizer so we can run well. But I think next year, the race I'm really looking forward to the most is that San Diego race.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really cool.
Is that on the Top Gun base, or it's on the
think so.
Air Force Base in San Diego?
Oh, really?
Yeah, Coronado.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. And I don't know much about where they filmed Top Gun.
Gun, yeah.
But I think a lot of those shots are based around there, or made to look there. So, there's like a famous bar there that I have to go visit. I'm not going to go drink, but I just have to go just to go. Probably going to be something to where you go out a couple days early and just enjoy your time.
Yeah, as long as you have to travel to that part of the country.
Yeah, and then we're in Sonoma the week after, so I think like my family, they're already planning on staying out there. My dad, probably some of my siblings. I don't know about my wife because she'll be with baby number 2.
Congratulations,
so
by the
I'll
way.
probably fly home and assist her, but yeah, it's gonna be a fun couple of weeks on the West Coast.
It was filmed at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar.
Miramar.
Okay. Yeah.
Miramar.
But Kansas City Barbecue is the famous piano bar from You Lost That Lovin' Feeling scene.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just,
Have you seen Top Gun?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah. Numerous times.
Yeah. The new one too?
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I've seen
a good one.
the new one probably more than the old one.
Yeah. So how old is your son?
He is 11 months.
11 months.
Next week. Yeah. So he's
Does he have a racing bug yet?
Um,
Hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. Yeah. I've taken him on my snowmobile.
I was gonna say I saw something on Instagram. I think
yeah,
you had him. I saw a helmet.
I've taken him on my dirt bike, my little 110 pit bike, quite a bit. He, I think, is a little bit afraid of the noise and the vibration because when I put him on the snowmobile, I just hear him. Like I just went very slow around my yard, but I kind of heard him like just doing the baby grunts. Like I don't necessarily love this. And the same with my dirt bike. But you know how it is. I feel like when you grow up around it, you're gonna love it. That's my hope. But
I've got 2 daughters and they cannot stand racing.
Really?
What?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I was around it constantly, absolutely loved it. Like Road America was the only place I wanted to be. And they've spent a lot of time there, but they just have no interest whatsoever. So it was
maybe that'll change. They're both pretty young.
One's 11 and one is going to be 6, but yeah, I was
with Ronnie at a race. I guess she really didn't care, did she?
No, she's much more into the dancing and her own thing. But
I mean, I've got my small herd of boys
Yeah,
that'll
Becca-
join you at the racetrack any weekend, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, much like you, I grew up going to Road America, and it's my favorite place. Like, I'm bummed that NASCAR doesn't race there.
Yeah.
Right now, I have no races on my schedule there next year. I hope to change that.
Yep.
But yeah, it's my favorite place. That whole area I grew up going, Elkhart Lake, and I hope my son feels that same way. And we'll buy him a go-kart, I'm sure. We'll buy him a couple little, they call them stay sticks. I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
It's like so a stay stick is basically in between, like when you're 2 or 3, in between like a bike and like a dirt bike, but it's electric and they can run off a Milwaukee battery.
Oh, really?
And they're very small. And there's
that's
different
cool.
power settings.
Just a pit stop and put a new battery.
Pretty much. Yeah, literally. So I'll get him a stay stick when it's time.
Becca, take notes.
I'm dying inside right now. Sam, don't listen to this one.
His Christmas gift, his big Christmas gift, is a Power Wheel that has a remote control. So I'll drive him around the garage. And
what kind of Power Wheel is it? What'd you pick?
it's a Chevrolet. Well, it's actually a GMC, a white GMC. Because Dad,
You got a white GMC.
well, I have a white Chevy.
Okay.
Dad was very. I waited till the last minute to buy it. They were out of stock, so I figured.
Shocking.
And it
That's
literally
not
just
directed
just
at
came
you.
today. It just came
You can
today.
just swap out the logo on the front.
Yeah, but it's a white GMC, and it's it has a controller, stuff that I never had when I was young. So I mean, like some of my friends that are my age that have little boys, they buy them and they can drive them around without them actually steering. So I think there's a button that you press. They can't control where they're going. You can do it just like a remote control car, and then when they get to a certain age, you flip that button and they can actually drive it themselves. So we'll see if he likes it, but I hope he will.
Mine growing up did not have
Yeah.
the
I never
remote
had
control. Definitely went rolling down a hill or two
Yeah.
that I shouldn't have.
Yeah, the electric thing is cool. Just a lot less maintenance to deal with.
Yeah, and they make Milwaukee tool like battery conversion kits to these, and my friends have them, and they say they literally wear out the motors because they're so powerful. So then you got to buy a new motor, which is not expensive. It's very affordable, but yeah, it's crazy like what they have now versus what they had even when I was young, you know, in the late 90s and early 2000s. But I mean, it's just technology evolving. I think it's pretty cool.
So how long have you been racing now? So you started when you were 3?
It's crazy. So I started racing go-karts when I was 4.5.
4.5.
So this will be my
low 30s?
30 years old.
30.
I have a 4.5-year-old, and over my dead body, I let him. He is not coordinated though. Wow, this is just like a lot of perspective hitting me at one time.
I got a go-kart from my parents for Christmas in 1999. So yeah, 25 years ago, 26 years ago now. And I went out in the garage. I remember bits and pieces of it. The cart was just sitting there in between my mom's car and my dad's race car, and they would start it, and I would just drive it literally 3 feet. They pull me back, I drive it 3 feet. And at the time, my dad owned an auto detailing shop in Pewaukee area, and it had a big warehouse, kind of like this. So he backed out all the cars and just set up a circle track for me, and I would just do circles in there, and I loved it. And there's a video somewhere my dad has. He taped a camera to the side pod. But yeah, I mean, at 4.5, I was driving my go-kart. But I think before then, you know, I would go with my dad, like on his snowmobile, and I had the bug already. He could see it.
Yeah, I remember, like, I started like BMX bikes. Like you draw, you create an obstacle course in the driveway or get the chalk out, and that was that. And then I at some point got a dune buggy.
Nice.
So that was like the first motorized thing. But yeah, I mean, so do you still love it as much as you did back then? Like, has it kind of plateaued? Is it still growing? Is it, I mean, because now it's your job.
Yeah, I mean, it is different now that it's my job. I will say that. I'm very, very lucky, very blessed.
Not many people can
and do
be
I
a
get
full-time race car driver.
Yeah, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, honestly. And I do I get as excited as I used to? Probably not. I think that's come. I mean, I have almost 250 NASCAR starts, so it has plateaued, unfortunately, a little bit. But I think one thing that really kind of reignited the spark in me has been this year. I ran that sports car program in the Porsche, and we've won a ton of races. Yeah, and you know, to be honest, most of my career in NASCAR hasn't been in the most competitive equipment, and I think I've done a really good job of getting almost everything out of the cars. But like, there's times where I have to settle if I'm running 20th, like. I have to settle for 20th. And on paper, when you're a 30th place team, 20th is great.
That's a win.
On the road courses, if you finish top 15 on a road course, top 10 on a road course, like that's a great day. But we're not racing for the wins. So like maybe that has something a little bit to do with why I feel like it's plateaued a little bit. But the sports car program in the Porsche, I mean, we dominated. We had, I think, 12. I think the team had 13 wins this year. I was with them for 11. And winning is fun. So like that, combined with the team that we raced with, Round 3 Racing, who the father and son who owned that. The father actually owned a NASCAR Cup Series team.
So that was a really crazy connection because we met Buzz and Brad at Charlotte.
Yep.
And Buzz built my car back in. So he, Buzz McCall Racing was the factory Chevy team that ran my car in Trans Am.
Yeah.
So that was a cool connection. And I've talked to Brad a couple times since then. But that's the cool thing about racing is just. There's a community and people end up finding each other, which is really neat.
Yeah, it's such a small world. Yeah. And that group of people that they hired to work on Round 3 Racing,
good guys,
really really good guys. Yeah. And Brad and Buzz themselves. I mean, Buzz, I'm not sure how old he is, but he's still racing that stock car,
really,
an old NASCAR. So he had a car in the '90s that raced in the NASCAR Cup Series. He bought that car. I found it, bought it, and he's been racing it in the vintage NASCAR Series. So
is it Caterpillar?
Caterpillar car. I think number 96.
Ward Burton.
Well, I think one of the Burtons. Yeah. I think one of the Greens at a time drove it. So he's still racing, and they're just. I mean, I think mostly anybody at a racetrack, like you're a like-minded person.
Yeah.
You can find something to get along about, and I love that. So like that kind of reignited my spark, and like I just had fun racing this year, and even in NASCAR I had fun racing this year, and I'd say this year just like I said, a spark was reignited, and I'm really looking forward to next year and being full time, and also like the birth of my son. I think like if I had a shitty weekend at the racetrack, like I kind of put it behind me really quickly, and I go home and you see your son, and he doesn't know if you had a crappy day or had a good day. So like that helped too. I think just a combination of things this year really kind of reignited the spark, and I'm excited for next year.
You mentioned just with the is it round 3?
Yep.
Round 3 team, just, good group of guys, like-minded people. There's also a lot of, intense moments and tough personalities at the racetrack.
Yeah.
And like, how do you navigate that stuff? I mean, there's no bigger, like the amount of egos, the amount of money, and the amount of, even fighting between teammates probably at times, like that's got to be draining or difficult to manage.
Yeah. And I mean, I have felt like I've always been one of the better people at putting stuff behind me very quickly. Like I don't feel like I have a hot head. If somebody pisses me off one race, I try to forget about it very quickly because I look at the whole situation and I know like our team's a small team with X amount of car. We have a limited amount of cars. I don't want to tear up a car and cause more damage than we have to, and just assess the whole situation. So like,
and the guys at the shop respect you for that.
I think so,
well.
And that's why I think I'm still going in NASCAR.
Yeah.
I mean, like this year, quite honestly, like my sponsorship dollars should not have bought me a full season in NASCAR. They just shouldn't have. But there's a reason why I'm still here, and there's a reason why I was hired to drive this car next year. It's because I think they respect that mentality I have. So I mean, there's a lot of times where like I question like, what are you doing on track, or like why are you racing me the way you are?
Yeah.
And the one situation that I was in 2022, I was at COTA in the Xfinity Series, and there was another driver who I'm friends with now, but very deep pocketbooks. His dad owns a massive company. It's the reason he's driving. And he made a stupid move on me. I made a stupid move back. He didn't like it. He was in a very fast car. I wasn't in a fast car. And he wrecked me coming to the finish line. And we finished 30th. And I said something stupid on Twitter. I'm like, hey, you're a rich kid racing. And
I remember that.
Yeah. And, to be honest, like his dad basically called our team owner and said, if you delete this, we'll pay for the damage. But and I did, but it was already still out there.
Wow,
but my team owner basically said, like, at the time I was driving for Tommy Joe Martin's Alpha Prime Racing. He's like, you got to assess the situation here, because now we finished 30th. Instead of finishing 14th, you would have finished 13th had he not retaliated, but you finished 30th now instead of 14th, and we have a crash race car. Even if somebody's paying for this crash damage, like, there's still time and effort that needs to be put into building this car back. And the car was decent at the time, and you're not going to go faster if you're rebuilding a car every race weekend. And that kind of was like the last moment for me where like I started thinking like, all right, like
bigger picture.
Yeah, I need to think bigger picture. So,
but it is still amazing how often that happens.
It happens all the time.
Like what you just described, and just these moments where I'm like, what are these guys thinking?
And
it's
now
not it's not good for them either.
Now more so than not, I just kind of sit back and watch it happen.
Yeah.
And 90% of the time, if you're watching two guys race like that, they're gonna wreck each other, and you're gonna gain 2 spots.
And not naming names or anything, but like, what percentage of the field do you think runs like that versus runs like you?
I would say there's more drivers racing like that than there's not.
Yeah.
Maybe 60-40,
Really?
maybe 70-30. It's frustrating at times, especially in NASCAR, because there's really no penalties given if you give a bumper. And I mean, every now and then it gets so bad that NASCAR has to have a talking to the whole series.
Yeah.
That happened once this year. It wasn't a race I was in, but I had to go to the meeting because I raced the next race. But at Martinsville this year, there was a very blatant wreck that happened because somebody just tried to move somebody out of the way, and it caused this massive pile up, and it was just a very stupid situation. And I wasn't in that race, but like I said, I ran the next race. I was in the meeting. It was just like a scolding. But there were no penalties assessed. So it just kind of opens up the invitation to do it again, especially with the playoffs, where if you win, you're in. You see a lot of moves happen just because people want to win a race. And Austin Dillon did it last year, I think, to
The old left rear.
Joey Logano. And,
Austin Dillon in Cup.
Yeah, in the Cup Series.
Yep, that was to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, or maybe it was Hamlin. He did it to somebody, but I mean, his mentality was you win and you're in.
Yep.
And like, I get it.
Because it kind of created that incentive.
Yeah, and I'm not
bit.
racing for a big team. Maybe if I'm racing for a big team, my mentality changes, but I'm not. I'm driving for a small team with literally a fourth or a fifth of the budget as these big teams.
So what else is going on? Growing family, racing full time. We had snow for a little while.
Yeah.
This year, but now it's gone.
I went snowmobiling. I love snowmobiling. Actually, my favorite thing to do is snowmobile because there's really no pressure. I ride fast.
It's still fun.
Oh yeah. I mean I ride fast, but for me it's just like you go out there, and there's a lot of guys that snowmobile just to go from point A to point B, or they go from restaurant or bar to bar. And I don't do that. Like when I ride, my goal is like, I want to ride as much as I can in this 4-hour window I have. And I'll ride to like get lunch or something at Jugs down the street. But snowmobiling is my favorite thing.
What do you have for snowmobile?
I have a Skidoo XRS 850. So it's like
850?
Yep. Yeah. So it's fast. I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing 100 miles per hour in seconds. Like, and you're you're riding upwards too. So
Yep.
it doesn't feel like you're going that fast, but it's probably just because I've done it so much, and everything that I do is pretty fast. The sprint cars I drive are fast. You know, my shifter carts are fast. But yeah, growing family. This is the first time in my career I've had a deal done before. My deal basically was signed on paper, I think the week after Phoenix. But I had a very good idea of what I was doing going into Phoenix, even going into the last couple of races of the year. And I kind of had my sponsorship pieces signed, which are the biggest piece of the puzzle. It's the first time in my career and doing this as a living since 2018 that I've had that piece done going into the off season. So it's been like
It's a good milestone.
the least stressful off season I've had. It's been enjoyable with my son, like knowing I have a paycheck coming in, because the biggest struggle is like not knowing. I don't have year to year, like I have year to year deals. I don't have multi-season deals. So having that locked in basically the first week of the off season was really nice, and just really enjoying my time at home. And I'm still working, maybe not just as hard as I used to, because like I have the sponsorship pieces done, but like I'm able to get ahead.
Yep.
And we're planning out press releases, we're planning out the activation we're doing at the races, we're planning out the press releases. So like I'm still working just as hard, but instead of trying to chase money, I'm chasing on let's make these partnerships that we have right now deeper and make more value for them.
Do you think the business side of it is getting easier with time, or do you just think you're getting better at it, all the above?
I don't think it's getting easier, but I think I have more connections now and more partners and more sponsors. I think a lot of my sponsors have been return sponsors. Insurance King's been with me since 2019. You've been on my car since 2019. A lot of my sponsors, I'm just growing my network. And so it's not easier, but the pieces of the puzzle are coming together a little bit easier than they were early in my career, because I have more partners, more connections. But there still are races where we have that are unsponsored. And when I have to go do what I did, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, which is basically start fresh, that's tough. It's a challenge. But instead of doing it for all 33 races, like in 2019 or 2020, when I only had 2 or 3 races sold, I have to do that every single weekend. Now, I only need to do it a couple times a year, and I can really get ahead of that schedule. And right now, sell Kansas, which is open, but it's not until April, so it's a little bit less pressure on myself.
So yeah, I think we'll be there for Daytona.
Cool. I'm excited for that one.
That's
always a fun. It's always
fun.
a fun start to the year.
Yeah, it is. As long as it doesn't rain. I don't know what it is about that place. It's like a rain magnet. It's
qualifying last year was canceled. The year before, our race was pushed till Monday night. The year before that, rain delays. So it's always rain. It's something you got to expect. I mean, if you look at the forecast going into that race, it's like it never looks good. It always shows rain, but you just got to be patient.
Sticking around here for Christmas?
Yep. Yeah, I'll be here for Christmas, and then early January, my schedule gets pretty busy with a lot of 1-2 day trips down to Charlotte. We have our production day with CW Sports early January. Have some stuff at the shop with some of our sponsors, which we'll be announcing here pretty soon. And then I'm racing the Chili Bowl, which is in a dirt midget car. That's a full week race. So, I mean, you practice on Sunday, and then the feature race is Saturday. So I'll be down there in 2 different periods of times. I'll be down there for like 3 days. I fly home for 2 days, and I go back for 4 days. But that's fun. I mean, there's 400 cars entered for the Chili Bowl normally. So it's just like Monday through Friday, or like elimination races to set yourself up for Saturday.
Is that indoor?
It's indoor. I think at the time it was built, the building that it's in was the largest freestanding building in the country.
Really?
And they did a lot of like mining equipment shows, or just like in oil industrial companies came there and set up their equipment in there. But super cool. I mean, there's everything from your grassroots racer showing up in an open trailer to your full-blown NASCAR style semis showing there with 5 or 6 cars in a semi. So, and I mean, those cars are not cheap. Some of those cars are $150,000 cars, and they're
so small.
They're small, but they're 4 cylinders pushing out 300 horsepower, and there's no really rules. So, I mean, you can make the car as light as you can. You want them safe too, obviously. But
so who do you race for?
So this year I'm going to race for the same guy I drove for last year. His name is
Okay.
Chase McDermott. He's an Illinois guy.
Okay.
But we have a partnership with, I don't know if you know who Russ Wettenkamp is. He owns a company called He owns Great, which is GR8, which is like an advertising company. But he owns a company called Mulch Express of Wisconsin, and they've sponsored a lot of local dirt racing. So he has a partnership with a gentleman in Illinois, younger kid than I am actually. His name is Chase McDermott. So I'll be racing one of his cars, and that's a top tier midget. The first 3 years I drove, actually the first 2 years I drove at the Chili Bowl were in a little bit lesser, kind of like what I drive in NASCAR. I would say like a C, like a mid pack at best. And then last year I stepped up to a better, more competitive.
Did you win a heat or win a race?
I won one of my mains last year, which is pretty cool.
And they streamed that somewhere.
Flow Racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I won one of my main races, and then after that they completely redid the track. So I won a race, made it to the next race, and that's basically all the races are, like qualifying races until you get to the A main. The A main is like who's who of dirt racing. Like you got Kyle Larson, but then you got all the top tier dirt guys that are around the world make it to the A main. So like for me to go in there expecting to make the A main, I know I'm not going to make the A main. So like that's important to go in there with that expectation of like just be real with how you're going to run. If I can make the C main or the D main, like that's really good. And then you're racing against guys who do this for a living, racing on dirt. But it just, dirt racing's so unique. Like I won one of my mains, then they took an hour and a half to prep the track, redid the entire track, and it was just, you couldn't pass on the track. So like I started second last or third last or something on the next race, and then just I was stuck because everybody was glued around the bottom.
Yeah, I saw one of your sprint races at Plymouth a couple years ago, and that is a different world.
It is. I mean,
I was shocked that it doesn't even look possible. Like when you're in the stands, those cars, going around a track that small, that fast,
looks
unreal.
It looks intimidating.
Yeah.
But once you get behind the wheel a couple times, it just becomes more natural. But
Yeah.
I mean, the track changes from first practice to the end of the night. I mean, it literally gets slick, almost like asphalt. The straighter you drive the car at the end of the night, the better it is. But it's fun. It's probably the most fun I've had driving a race car.
Wow.
Have you ever driven on dirt?
Just on iRacing.
We want to get it. I think we've talked about it a couple times.
I don't know
and
if I'm
think
ready for that.
you and Lance.
It seems crazy.
Custom fiberglass molding.
Yeah.
I want to get you and Lance behind the wheel of a car one of these years.
Yeah.
Just for a practice day.
That'd be fun.
That wasn't a no.
Yeah, you never know. Becca, any?
No, that was
Anything else?
great. Lots of good content on that one.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you down at Daytona, and I'm sure we'll have a crew there. And going to the track is like one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah,
especially
it's
so
Daytona.
much fun.
Daytona is just the start of the year. It's like
you're in the pits.
It's fresh off season. You're itching to get back to the track. It's Daytona.
Yeah.
I like the weather here in Wisconsin. I like the snow and the cold, but like it's nice to get down there and like you're in fresh, warmish weather mostly. But yeah, we just need the weather to cooperate and get the race in on time.
For sure. Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Adam.
Oh yeah, we got to get these signed too.
Yeah. How long has the studio been here?
That's
few weeks. Yeah, we're getting it.
We've been playing with it since probably like September. Yeah, this is the third one we've done in here.
What's the story with that helmet up there? That looks like a Jaguar Formula One helmet.
Yeah, this was a friend of my dad's who had a shop. I think I don't know if they had an estate sale after he passed or what. And this is my first. So this is my first helmet.
Did you wear that when you ran your Group 6 car?
And so Rusty Wallace, his team rented
Charlie Burnett's.
It's
Charlie Burnett's helmet.
The first year they were at Road America, so I got all their signatures.
Yeah, that's cool.
Rusty, Steven, Brendan Gong.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what's the right trim to use here?
Yellow.
Yellow. I would probably say, well, is that a silver right there?
Yes.
Can I borrow a piece of paper just to try? The yellow actually probably will look good because there's yellow on the car.
Bill was just really prepared, apparently. I think there's like.
Even in an elf?
I really don't like the movie Elf. I know it's horrible. Sam and
That's
I.
not horrible. I mean,
Sam and I argue about this because so one of my favorite like raunchy comedy movies is Wedding Crashers,
That's a great movie.
It's so good, but he didn't need to be in it. Like.
I will say the one I like him. As
I
an
like
actor. I think he's a
Vince
weird
Vaughn.
guy in person,
Yeah, that I like.
but I
Like I love Vince Vaughn, like that style, like his type of humor to me is like the
Yeah.
best. It's
Dodgeball.
dry, and yes, it's just like dry and witty and whatever, and it sounds over the top.
Do you ever watch The Office?
Yeah.
So when Will Ferrell was on, he was like a bad character,
He's such a
like cringy. Him and Andy Bernard, they were both kind of cringy, I